So, a question that I have for the panel is at what point does technology stop helping us and start replacing our intuition? I want to pose this question to Adriana first to just pick your brain to see where you're at with it.
For me, it starts to become a hindrance when it's no longer a tool. Because that's the position that I have with it. Like, technology is a tool. You are supposed to use it. We are supposed to evolve and find a way to adapt to using it as a tool. When we start to depend on it and like get into, uh, I would say for me, strange things like relationships with AI and things like that. That's when things get a lot actually muddled. That and the younger generation of people um, not being able to stop with technology, no matter what type of technology it is. It could be TV, it could be gaming, it could be socials, or whatever the case may be. It seems as if they're physically incapable of giving it a break. And when they do, it seems like they go off the handle. Like, when I say they, I mean people, a lot of people actually, 25 years and younger. There are older people that are like that too, but it's more of a super concern for those brains that are still in development. So that's my position on it. Like, continue to take ownership of the fact that we need tech as a tool, but we don't need tech. You know what I mean? Like, there's a duality to it, just like anything else.
For sure. Yeah, I get where you coming from with it, and just having a child or children that are in the household, right, and seeing them use the devices and putting limitations on device use, and hearing, "Oh, I'm bored," but then they get over it and they find something else to do because they don't need it. They'll start
Hmm.
with a friend, they'll play a game or whatever with each other, and not even on like TV. Like the between the young boys in the house, they start roughhousing, and that's
Hmm.
all because like at least there's some type of interaction going on. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure it doesn't get too out of control, but the one thing I think like it starts replacing our intuition when we just
Hmm.
go to it for everything.
Yep.
Oh,
Hmm.
interested in finding out this recipe about something you got. Instead of going to somebody elder in your family, you might go to a YouTube video for something or ask Google how do you make such and such. When we have people in our lives that we can get on a phone call with or go spend some time with. So that's what I think. You know, the technology is very useful, and not just the digital technology, just the appliances we have, the things that we use in everyday lives. It's here to help us, but then we also have to be mindful of overuse of technology. What are your thoughts, though, Caroline? What you thinking on it?
Yeah, I agree. I find that if I use Chat GPT. I tend to use Gemini more now, but I use it for research rather than to think for me. Um, because I do find that, like you said, it can play with your intuition if you rely on things. Um, and I do feel slower. I feel like I can feel my brain like clunking through things rather than having that speedy, you know, because I think I'm going to go off a little bit, but I was watching a podcast, Trevor Noah, and he's talking about neurodivergence. And I've said it before, I'm quite confident I'm on that scale somewhere. Um, but I know that I've got a quick mind, which is what needs me to be occupied in different things and have different things going on. Do you know what I mean? And I think we all align with that, really. Um, so me feeling like my cognition is slowing down is not something that I'm comfortable with. You know, I find it if I watch TV too much, find it if I'm on devices, and definitely using AI. Can't use it to think for me. I refuse to do that. But I think it's a brilliant tool. So yeah, and I think spiritually, AI is the technological version. Again, it's how deep is the rabbit hole, because we are a technology and everything is technology, but it is the version in this 3D of the divine download. And for me, I'd rather get the divine download, get it from the source of all things in the purest way, than have something provided to me that essentially is a culmination of what already exists. So I've seen a lot of people say that lately as well, that AI is giving you, it's just going through what's on the internet, it's giving you what's already there. It's not creating from fresh. If you want to create create something new and innovative and cosmic, it's the only place to go, in it. That's my thought.
Yeah, it's interesting you just brought that up. I took some screenshots the other day because I was doing a search on just Gemini, Chat GPT, and things like that. And some of the questions I asked, the answers I got back were interesting. In regards to it just being like that almost instant search library. So one thing I asked, it says, does Google Gemini think for itself? And said, no, Google Gemini does not think for itself. I do not have a conscious mind, beliefs, or independent thoughts. My responses are the result of mathematical calculations predicting the most logical sequence of words based on your prompt. So that's all it's doing. Is, it's only getting back what we give, or giving us back what we ask. And
only regurgitates.
We can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when it shows you the results of your search as well and all the sources, you can go to the sources of where, I was using it the other day for some research for my course, and the speed is ridiculous. Like, talking 3 seconds, I'm like, look at this and give me this.
Yeah.
Like, how did you do that? But
how did you do that?
Right.
But I can't take what it gives me as the answer.
Right.
Because it gives falsities as well, you know what I mean? So it's just quicker than Google. For me, it's a more evolved, like Google's good, but if you want something way more concise than a Google search, get on an AI.
Right. Yeah. What about for you, Tone?
So I feel, at what point does technology stop helping us and start replacing our intuition? Honestly, I feel like we're already at that point. I feel like we have an understanding that technology is beneficial in its parts, right? There's enhancement. It alleviates extra time in doing things, right? However, there are people, especially younger people, for older people who have already lived before the ages of the advancements of this technology. A lot of those people already understand intuition. They know how to listen to the intuition, even if they don't always follow it. You have younger people now, younger YNs, YLs, whatever. They never really had the opportunity, I would say, to get an understanding of intuition and how it works and trust it and this and that. They came up off of the technologies that are, right? So you do have kids now that argue with their parents and go to ChatGPT for advice and get the advice for ChatGPT, and they'll tell their parents that Chat said that they was right. You have young kids who are unfortunately unaliving their parents or their loved ones or whatever because of what they're reading off of ChatGPT. You have people who go on Instagram and will get tarot card readings more than they would sit there and feel and get an understanding of what's going on in the energy field around them. Like this is really what's happening in our time today. Today you have people who get up and first thing in the morning and they'll get on their phone and they'll be on social media and they check their likes and they'll check for validation for those things. All of those things go against your intuition. So I feel right now, we are right now at that point to answer the question. That's what I'll say to that question.
Mhm.
I think, can I say, I think it's important to really recognize what you just said. Because I said before on a piece about the generational difference. And even my children are seeing the difference because they weren't born into it. So smartphones came in when they were like 7 and 8, or 6 and 7, I think. So that 0 to 7 development stage where literally they're just a sponge being programmed, it didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how, I see it all the time. Me and my mum were talking about it the other day, how easy it is to fall into the reliance of it. I've seen toddlers in buggies, you know, with a smartphone or an iPad because it keeps them quiet, you know, it does the job. But what is misunderstood, because I don't think really, if I know if the parents understood what that is doing, they wouldn't do it. Because what comes out later, it doesn't come out then, it comes out at the age of 4, 5, 6, 7, when they start to act mad challenging. And then their brains are being set. So like it is, if you really think about it, and it is a Western world problem, it's not a global issue. There's certain places that are more at risk. But it's quite scary to think what kind of youths are going to come out. Seriously, like what kind of youths are going to, with no empathy, social anxiety, addictions to all sorts of electronical things, including gaming, porn. You know, you've already got...
I'm sorry, they're going to be programmed to the propaganda. They're going to be programmed to the propaganda, whatever the programming that's going to be going and that's what's happening now. That's crazy. That is scary, actually, when you think.
But there's bigger forces at work, and those bigger forces, you know, the unseen forces, I think, you know, they're gonna do their job.
Yep, I'm always rooting for them. I'm always rooting for the light. Yeah.
To your point, Caroline, I think that's also in action right now too. The infiltration, right? Like I don't disagree with anything you're saying. You know I do. I'll just add to that, the attention span is up. The mosquito is crazy to me too, and I see that in real time. But I think conversations like the ones we have and the ones that we see that are actually valid, no disrespect to everybody, but there are some people who don't know and don't have that lived experience. But the people that do, that are putting out that information, and the kids that want it, sorry, children that want it, are going to be the reason why we don't have as big of a problem as it seems like we do. Speaking to the higher power of it all, there's balance in everything, right? So I don't think that the universe, God, however you choose to, you know, identify with the higher power, is going to allow things to just self-destruct. Like I think that's why people are changing their minds. That's why they're getting mental health help. That's why they're speaking out. Like I don't think any of that is by accident, because you have to make a conscious choice to do that.
Yeah. I've had a lot of young people that I've worked with just come off it because it's caused them so much distress and depression. And once they've been able to pull themselves out of it, and no one around them could pull them out of it, but once they pulled themselves out of it, they're like, I'm not going back to that. So I think there's going to be a lot of self-correction, and I think there's a lot of young people showing young people. So an 18-year-old saying to a 10-year-old is different to my 46-year-old backside telling them. You know what I mean? They
I
That's
have
interesting because I went through a 14-day cleanse.
I was just about
It,
to ask you.
it was not just about internal, with food. One part of it, they also included to cleanse from social media. And in that time, I thought, this is cool. I don't know if I'm going back on social media. So the only social media that I did go back to for the sake of keeping in communication with y'all and family is WhatsApp and YouTube to an extent. Like I didn't put YouTube back on my phone, but I go to YouTube on my desktop. So the only social media that I'm really involved with right now is WhatsApp, and that's like baby version. I do see though what was just brought up in as far as me trying to tell my 12-year-old son that you gotta limit your time on TikTok is not gonna get through like maybe somebody that's 16 or 18 would be able to get through because they're sharing a certain type of experience when it comes to use. Where my experience with use is like, it's kind of icky for me. With him, it might be, this is just what I'm doing to pass time, and he doesn't see any harm in it. But for someone that's closer to his age, they can break it down like, look what it's doing, though. But coming from me, with anything too,
Yeah, yeah.
just social media, I can say, yo, back in my days, I did that, and this was what happened. But he's not trying to hear about back in my days.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But he will listen to the person on TikTok telling him that.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I mean by the infiltration. Like there are people in that age bracket doing the work that we want, that we're hoping to instill upon the children, and just let them do it. You know what I'm saying? Like they listen for whatever reason. Like if they'll listen and do something as wild as a slap challenge, which is wild to me, they'll also listen when somebody says, "Hey, take a breather," and that's showing itself. Both sides are showing themselves right now.